Thanks for making it to Veterans Info Tap. I'm glad you made it. This was just announced on Wednesday, September 25th, and I wanted to share it with you here today because the VA is looking into connection regarding different, regarding kidney cancer specifically, and if it's linked to PFAS. So let's jump into it here and hit the thumbs up, subscribe, share with a friend, all that good stuff. I really appreciate it. The VA is actually checking for connection between PFAS, that's those forever chemicals, PFAS, PFAS, it's an acronym for words I can't say, chemicals, so looking for the connection between PFAS chemicals and kidney cancer in afflicted veterans. So, what this would end up doing, in my opinion, is establishing a new presumptive condition specifically for the firefighting foam that has been really looked at a lot over the last year or so. So let's jump into this. It says the Department of Veterans Affairs will study whether kidney cancer is linked with exposures to chemicals used in military-grade firefighting foam and other products to determine whether veterans may be eligible for expedited benefits. Now, usually when we hear things like expedited benefits, what they're really talking about is an easier pathway through the idea of having it as a presumptive condition. So the VA announced Wednesday, again, September 25th, 2024, that the process could decide whether kidney cancer should be designated a presumptive service-connected condition for former service members who were exposed to, I can't say it, PFAS chemicals, often called forever chemicals for their environmental persistence. The designation would accelerate the process for veterans to receive VA healthcare and disability compensation, removing a requirement that those afflicted prove that the illness was related to their military service. So I'm not sure exactly how they're going to do it. Maybe blocks of time and your job, right? So if your job puts you in connection with that firefighting foam between certain time frames, then that might be the doorway into the presumptive, I'm guessing. Let's move on here. At VA, this is a quotation by the Secretary. At VA, we want to understand the health conditions that veterans are living with so we can provide them with all of the benefits they deserve, and that's what this review process is all about. This is from the VA Secretary, Dennis McDonough, and he said that in the news release. Several studies have shown an association between occupational exposure to PFAS chemicals or high blood concentrations of PFAS chemicals used in firefighting foam and other products with a higher risk of kidney cancer. Prior to the Now here's what I would say. Already, if there's studies that are being shown with that association and the VA's threshold is 50-50, if the evidence is in equipoise, they're supposed to rule in your favor. That's why you hear the at least as likely as not phrase, they're supposed to rule in your favor. Well, if that's the case and you have kidney cancer and you worked in that type of environment, do not wait for a presumptive designation. Work with your doctor, get them to write you a nexus letter that it is at least likely as not, based on these studies, that your kidney cancer is due to this exposure, right? And file that as just a standard claim and get it approved that way. Don't wait. Also, keep that in mind for any other conditions that you may have. There might be a study out there that can help you obtain that at least as likely as not threshold with a nexus letter. So let's move on. So the PFAS chemicals that are used in firefighting foam and other products with a higher risk of kidney cancer. Prior to the passage of the PACT Act in 2022, the VA needed to issue a contract to research. This, by the way, I know what they're going to talk about. So what they're going to talk about here, and then we'll read it, is this was a huge piece of the PACT Act. It also, in addition to setting up the presumptive conditions for primarily your Gulf War veterans, and they added a couple for Vietnam. Besides that stuff, they allowed the VA to actually create a presumptive list, and they cut through a lot of the red tape for that. So having the VA have the ability to establish presumptive lists is huge. So I think that's what they're going to talk about here. Let's dive into it. Prior to the passage of the PACT Act in 2022, the VA needed to issue a contract to research whether medical conditions could be linked to military service. The PACT Act cemented rules allowing the VA to establish for itself a presumption of a connection between conditions and service by examining all available studies and its own data, including VA claims. The investigation into kidney cancer would be the first to determine a presumptive condition for veterans exposed to a toxic substance during the military service, regardless of location. The date the VA's exploration into the possible service-connected conditions has been limited to those linked with environmental exposures overseas in locations listed in the PACT Act. Since the PACT Act became law, the VA has extended presumptives for more than 300 conditions related to 23 general conditions listed in the legislation, including male breast cancer, urethral cancer, and cancer of the paraurethral glands. The VA announced in July of 2023 that it was exploring a connection between three types of blood cancer: acute leukemia, chronic leukemia, and multiple myeloma, and service in Iraq, Afghanistan, Somalia, Djibouti, Egypt, Jordan, Syria, Yemen, Uzbekistan, and all of the Southwest Asia operational theater. It has yet to announce the results of that investigation. During a media roundtable in December, VA Undersecretary for Health Dr. Sharif Ellenhall said the process is lengthy. We do have to have a period of time to do the scientific analysis, and then, of course, we have to undertake the process of rulemaking, which takes some time, Ellenhall said in response to a question from military.com. Again, do not wait for a presumptive list. If you have studies, you have other criteria that put you in place of exposure, work with your doctor to get them to write you a nexus letter, tying those two things together, and use the verbiage of more than likely if you can. If not, at least as likely works. Federal research published last year showed for the first time a direct connection between PFAS and testicular cancer, but a similar causal link with kidney cancer has not yet been determined. The Defense Department has been ordered to stop using foams containing the chemicals next month and to remove all stock from active and former installations and equipment as well, although it has requested a waiver through October of 2025. The DoD has used firefighting foam containing PFAS on hundreds of military